Hi, I'm Preciosa Tovar. I'm a sophomore in high school, and I've been asked to share some Bible verses with you. So, this first one is from Isaiah chapter 43. It's verse 2, and it reads, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, the flames will not set you ablaze." So, I think to truly understand a verse, it helps to know the background and situation that the verse is taking place in. So in this case, the Israelites and Jews are being forced to walk into unknown grounds of rule and conduct as they are being held captive by another empire. And so everything that they once knew is being flipped upside down. Everything that they've built and worked for is being stripped from them. And everything that they've planned, any festivities, any tradition, any event, they're all being uprooted and thrown aside. They're beginning to lose faith in God and doubt that He's there and He knows that they're in need of help. And so this particular verse is God making it known that they will be facing troubles and that those troubles are inevitable. They can't avoid them. But He also makes it known that He will walk alongside them. And so He's basically telling them that no matter how deep the ocean of fear is or how continuous the waves of doubt are, He's not going to leave them. And of course, just because God is specifically talking to the Israelites and Jews in this verse, that doesn't mean that this verse can't apply to us today. So, like the Israelites and Jews, we are walking into unknown ground, and maybe we aren't facing captivity of an empire, but we're definitely facing the same shadows of the unknown. And right here, I want to read another verse. This one is from John chapter 16, verse 33. And this one reads, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world." So I will quickly explain this one. And this is Jesus talking to His disciples. And right before this verse, He had told them that He will be joining the Father soon and that they would be walking their own separate ways and living their own lives apart, basically. And I'm going to mention again how just because Jesus is talking to the disciples in this moment, that doesn't mean we can't apply the verse to us today. And so, like the other verse, this verse is also talking about troubles that we are going to face, but at the same time, it's also mentioning how we shouldn't be afraid and that God will be with us. And so, I feel we shouldn't lead our lives out of dread that and fear that we might not get to see the end that we want because we're blinded by our own selves. But I think we should walk with confidence and trust and faith in God that He's there for us and that this is how He wants things to be and that He knows what's good for us. And if you continue to read these stories, you will quickly find that God does keep His promise. He walks alongside the Jews and the Israelites. He delivers them of sin and captivity, and Jesus frees us from sin, and He bears the weight of our sin on His shoulders. And God has never broken a promise, and He never will. And I feel that in times like these, it's critical that we remember that and that we live by that and that we remind ourselves that God is in control. He hears us. He knows we're hurting, and He knows what we're going through, but that He's already beat it all. And our world is being flipped upside down. Everything that we've worked for as teachers, as students, as families, it's all, as athletes, it's all being stripped away at the hands of shadows that we've never seen before. And vacations, trips, events, weddings, just adventures, it's all being postponed, and a lot of the things that we've been looking forward to are being uprooted and thrown aside. And I want to mention that if you read these verses again, we have a significant advantage over the Israelites, the Jews, and the disciples because we know how their story ends. We know that they did make it through. We know God kept his promise and walked alongside them, and that he never left them alone despite the continuous doubt and disobedience that he experienced from them, and that he did deliver them. And we also know that what they're feeling and going through is similar to what we're feeling and going through. And I feel that it's important to remind ourselves that no matter how rough the waters of life get or how intense the flames of hurt and trouble get, that God is going to walk alongside us. So as we continue to face these shadows, I encourage you to take heart, trust him, and remember that he's already beat any troubles or pain and struggle that we're experiencing. And that to remind yourself that he's never going to break a promise. He proves it throughout the Bible, that he keeps his promises. So to remember that he's always there and that he will deliver us is pretty critical, and I encourage you to remind yourself. And I also want to remind you to stay safe and make the most of this time. And remember that we never walk alone.